No, I know. We know.
You boys squabbling already or talking shit already?
No, just talking about
No,
you and
no,
your chemo.
we didn't want to talk until you were here.
Oh, at least talk
Covered up
That
about me when
baldness.
you have a chance.
Everything all right?
that
Cut your
that
head?
dude that dude sent me a video of his live work, and it was basically what I thought it would be.
It was devoid of life.
You know,
Which dude I can cut this out?
the guy we were talking about yesterday that they were saying is a super popular coach
That's
on
what you said.
John Gillis
John Gillis.
Giles.
Who was talking about him? Where were we talking about?
Someone posted something on the WhatsApp group on and his workout, and the description of the workout was um
Oh,
I'll tell you.
is that the Muay Thai guy holding
I think
pads?
he's a striking coach.
Okay.
And so the workout that he posted, the video he posted was just pad holding, which is
Yeah.
fun. And the class was 3 3-minute rounds of themed shadow. I'm not sure what themed shadow boxing is.
Oh, well.
40 minutes of drills. So I like that. And then 3 times 3 of pads using the drills only, which I mean, that's a traditional workout, but it sounds like a good workout, right? It's got a warm up, the 40 minutes of hard work, maybe, and a finisher. So if you're telling me you do 9 minutes of shadow boxing to warm up, and you do 9 minutes of pad work to cool down, and in the middle is 40 minutes of live work, that's, who the fuck am I to say that the 18 minutes is not well spent? So I asked him a question. I said, can you tell me what the drills are? And he said, drilling phases and sequences for 40 minutes. So I'm like, all right, cool. I wrote any live work, and he said, my drills are always live.
Mhm.
So I asked him to send me, like, I didn't see it on his Instagram. So I said, can you send me a link to a video? You don't have to cut any of this shit out. It doesn't matter. He doesn't follow our show. Um,
Maybe
and
one
I
of the
shared
three.
the video. You can watch it on a WhatsApp group, and it looks about as live as you'd expect. It starts with one guy holding his mitts up and the other guy throwing, and it basically is just like carving up a corpse. It just happens to be a live corpse, but
So the person's alive, but the drill is
yeah,
most definitely not.
right. The human beings taking part in the drill appear to be alive,
Because
but
if
the
they weren't,
drill,
that's pretty badass. I'm not gonna lie.
yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm
Digging the
watching it
Bernie.
right now out of the
They're
side of
digging the
my eye.
Bernies.
The only thing there's no real consequences. The only things landing are, yeah,
It's nonsense.
yeah, it's not what I would call live, that's for sure. So you guys can watch that later. I think Adam just commented on it that um he said about as live as Millie Vanilli.
Ah,
So I have been on like 3 or 4 different people, and people are not responding to me at all.
man, because they can't.
But I'm being very nice. Like, I know
Sure.
it's Scotty. You said the other day we need to go hard,
Well,
and
I go back and forward that. I woke up in a good mood today. I'm just
I'm in a good mood today.
good. I come in peace.
So I
Although
I think
your man let the conversation peter out when you're asking him, dildo on the stick guy.
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
he's not gonna.
No, because I've countered his. I've very politely again because I think you have to be somewhat polite because we are trying to engage, and if you just
I am.
go hard and just start tearing into people, then they're not going to engage. So hey, buddy, I'm still waiting on an answer. I'd love to know more about why you think Steph Curry, who shoots a billion shots every day, still only has a 40% shooting accuracy, which makes him one of the best ever. Don't get me wrong. I'm not discounting how good he is, but as soon as you put a person in front of him, he's not nearly as good as when there's no one in front of him. So maybe there's more to it than just shooting 1,000 shots every day.
What if I counter you that 1,000 shots made is what's required to have a 40% with someone in front of you? Like, I mean, that is how I would counter, right? I would counter that some level because, like Scotty always talks about how every engagement just looks chaotic, it looks messy. But what if it takes some level of clean coordination so that under pressure it only falls this far? And so if he only shot 500 shots a day, his shooting average would be 30% with someone in front of him. That's a logical argument.
Sure. And then so then what is that? What is that number? And then if then he goes out and he shoots 40%, then what does he need to go back and You know, if he goes back and shoots another 1,000 every day, will he shoot 41%?
No, I mean, I think, and I'm just
I
a plain
imagine
devil's
40%
advocate.
is good, right?
Yeah,
40%
40% is really good.
It makes him one of the best.
Right.
He's one of the best 3-point shooters of all time, for sure.
He may be the best shooter of all time.
Okay.
So, but let's say you have a player on that same team who shoots 30%. Then logically, if they're looking up to Steph Curry, then they would say, oh, I'm not shooting enough shots. And therefore, I have to go in and shoot more shots. And I'm sure there is a trade off between time and energy and fatigue and practice time, but it would make logical sense. And so let's bring it back to fighting. You guys can answer this. Why does it not make logical sense for me to say, if all of my young guys if I can get them to look great on the hand pads, then when I put someone in front of them, we know it's going to degrade. But the higher we start, the same degradation still ends up higher. Isn't that the argument for repetitions?
Yeah, I think that's the argument for repetitions, but I think because what we understand about skill development, it's not the point. It's not the point of creating these really stable movements. The point is being able to maintain and regain stability. So it's actually it's no riding the bike straight. It's being able to ride the bike on bumpy roads and stay balanced. That's the skill. So it maps back onto Carl's analogy about walking on flat, dry surface will not help you walk on ice because there's different task demands.
Okay, but part of the task demand of riding a bicycle is leg strength. And so
but now we're going, yeah, and I don't,
okay.
I think there's no argument there. We all think it adds to capacities, right?
Right. So is there a valid separation between what we are calling skill developments and capacity and coordination?
Yes, I think that's a fight. I think that's what we're pushing back at. Just call it what it is. It's capacity building.
Okay.
Coordination of what? We want to be coordinated within the realm of the thing. Like we want our fighters to be coordinated in when someone is throwing at them and they can perceive, and when they're moving around, they can hit, and no amount of coordination of a dead task that's beholden to the dead task is going to give them that coordination in the environment of fighting.
Right. But what if they let's just stick with a 1-2, the simplest thing. And I'm not talking about the micro details of a 1-2. Is it accurate to say that someone who can just stand there and throw a clean 1-2 can throw that same thing at a person in front of them?
If the conditions are the same. So this is, I think we're getting closer to what we're talking about now, right? Is that we think the skill part is in the adaptability of that 1-2.
Right.
Not necessarily the technical or the efficiency of the 1-2 itself. We think, and I think most coaches would actually agree with this if you pin them down on it. The skill part is the difference between the technique in and of itself and being able to adapt it in real time. That's the skill part. That's the critical, crucial part, the holy grail we're all trying to get to, right?
Right.
And so what we're saying is you don't actually need to do the technical stuff. That'll emerge over time. Let's just really work on the adaptability part. So that's the skill part. And I think that's the part that most people are, that I think the community is generally missing. And I don't necessarily, so I'm gonna concede a point. I think you can build that technical thing, that 1-2, but that's the skill part still needs to be developed. And that's the adaptability part. Because we'll agree there's better and worse ways to throw a 1-2. And we'll agree in a fight, it's never the same 1-2. It can't be the same 1-2. It can never, ever be the same 1-2. So there has to be a deviation from the ideal. There has to be in the moment adaptation to that 1-2 to make it effective. That's what we were always talking about. You can't get that from the pad. You cannot get it from the pad. Now you can say, well, the pads can move around and you're somewhat adapted to the pads. Correct. So is there a layer? Are you nudging a wee bit into that adaptability space? Maybe. But I don't think it's that strong. I think this is the crux of the argument, that the difference between the technique and the skill is that little area, that little space of adaptability. And we don't think you can get that from pads.
If we take a day one student and for, I don't know, three weeks, let's just say 3 weeks, we have them hit hand pads, or just even in the air, we really just break them down to what we want it to look like aesthetically, just a nice 1-2, 3 weeks.
All right, well, let's just keep it as simple as possible. Just
1-2.
Something that looks like a 1-2.
Sure, but it's going to look, so then there has to be some aesthetic aesthetic we're looking
Oh,
at, that we're trying to
sure.
get this.
Straight.
We're
Straight.
not gonna put that dude into any kind of fight environment with just his 1-2, and then he's gonna throw that same 1-2, and it's not even gonna look remotely like it because
No,
he.
can't we? But there. So fight environment, I think is too far. But is there not some intermediate drill that we would do first? So I'm saying we do something first. We do shoulder tag first, or whatever that is, right? Or body punching, straights only. We know what that looks like. Is there not a phase we could put before that where they build some coordination, since they've never moved like this, they've never done anything on their feet, that would help them with that live task?
Yeah, some type of live, just try and
No,
land.
I'm asking, is there some coordination building exercise that
Yes.
would help them? Okay, why don't we do that?
I think we do that. I think everyone does that. I think we are saying it's probably not. There's probably a better way to do it. I'd not always leaving a little bit of room for that decision making. And we see decision making as being continuous. And I don't want to get too wordy here, but decision making is not a thing. It's not an input. That's what we believe, right? That's where our research is taking us at the moment. It's not input, process, and calculation output. It's just continuous.
And it needs
And I
all
think
those
when you
needs
really,
as much of that as possible. It needs as
yeah, and
much
I
of
think when you really,
what's going on.
yeah, that's the skill. We're talking about skill here, right? We're no, this isn't either learning to look good at fighting or learning to be learning to do technical things.
Yes, but I'm asking, is skill all we do?
Skill is what we're. Skill is, yes. That's our endeavor, is to make skillful athletes.
And won't then the athlete organize all those other things, become coordinated, and all those other things with to the end thing being fighting for us?
That's the
MMA.
question.
Yes.
Well, I mean, that's certainly what we've embarked on.
Sure.
We
So
got rid of a lot of shit. We don't do a lot of other things.
So then part of the argument is when someone talks about a coordination phase, they are talking about this linear idea. And I think that you would have to just keep coming back. Every time you have a new thing you want to add, you'd have to come back to the coordination phase. And you'd end up doing a lot of dead repetition work.
Well, I think we have a coordination phase too, right? And so anytime
It's just live.
The system's always going through like if we take Noel's ideas of coordination, control, skill, right? They're not rigid. You're not suddenly out of coordination and it's all control and it's all skill. It's when you're adding new things in one. It's constantly in these regions. So
right?
Yeah, and what we're saying is, we think this is a more effective way. Now we can be a little like, and then because we are making these claims and we, kind of investigate, scratch down, try and understand what's actually going on, I think the case becomes better. The case becomes more robust that we should be working on this adaptability piece, this decision-making piece. And when we strip the adaptability demands and the perceptual demands, and now I'm getting wordy, and the decision-making demands from the activity, we're probably leaving a lot on the table if we want to become skillful. And you see these like McDojo Life and stuff, and it's all fighters on there laughing and scoffing at all this bullshit, breaking boards and running around and all this shit. But for me, it's not that different.
Not that different. I'm with you,
It's
Scott.
really not that different. It's either doing the thing. We're back here. It's either doing the thing or we're doing something else. And maybe there's better something else's and worse something else's. But none of it beats the thing. You know who I want to bring up today? And I think he's fantastic. Is Tony Jeffries, right?
Right. You love him. Glaze him a little bit, because I don't feel the same way as you do.
No, I know you don't, because I just think his message is about bringing people in the box, and he's making a damn fortune, and I cannot hate the man. I think he's got tremendous charisma. He's always sending a good message about safety, which I really like. But it's all kind of bullshit as well. But I really like him. So it's curious to me why I pick my battles, and I really like him. Like I like his stuff because I think he's got a very disarming way of coming over, and he's just trying to get people into sport and do boxy things and feel like they're getting their workouts and stuff. I think he thinks everything he's saying is what's going to make a good skillful boxer or a good skillful fighter, but I think the cohort and the demographic he's going over, I think he's fantastic. Which is odd because the other coaches that just they stick right in my craw. I think they're making greater claims. Now on Tony Jeffries, I don't know if I sent you the reel. He was on some kind of interview or something, and they had like a tournament of all the different training activities.
Right.
Speed work, jump rope, footwork drills, ladder drills, hard sparring, technical sparring, and then he went through them all, and unsurprisingly, the best way for boxing is the technical sparring, right? That's what he ends up
Yes.
with. So even Tony and I, we were agreeing, like, there's the tech sparring or the live interaction, and then everything else. And we may disagree on the value of everything else, but he's also agreeing that it's inferior.
But they all do, every single one. Let's go to any of these people that we are trying to have discussions with. I won't name them all, but we're
Why
all on
not?
different because I
Name
don't
them.
even know. I don't
Name
even
them.
know who we're all talking to.
What?
Like the
It's the
our
community.
mount. Say again.
It's the community, but in large.
Yes. So, but even the Mount Griftmore will have. They will all agree, and maybe some of them, but they'll all agree that some type of sparring, and I'm just calling everything sparring, right? All live work is sparring. Sparring is the best training methodology. They all will agree on.
No, will they though? But they will all agree that it's necessary.
Mm.
But Luke Howard the other day on that thread had to say that he's on the glove on the fucking stick, and we need to do this before we do this, and then we do this. And I'm like, well, no, you don't need to do this because what are you doing standing in front of something? What coordination are you actually building? Your feet aren't even moving. This thing isn't moving. You're just bobbing and weaving on either side and going underneath. Well, then we put it into this phase, and then we build from this phase to this phase. So it's all linear. So he would not agree. He would not agree that at least I would assume he could correct me if I'm wrong if he'd answer my freaking, questions, but he won't. He would probably not agree that that the fighting's the most important because the fighting needs to be serviced by all this other dead bullshit.
But if we're to be the most generous we can be, it's okay. There's a place for that, and this goes right back to Coach Matt, right? If we're to be the most generous, then there's maybe a time and a place to bring new people on or learning a new movement or skill, and that might be a part of it. But that's not the conversations we're having because we're seeing elite level fighters doing all this bullshit. And so are we still having the same conversation? Are they still needing to refine their coordination patterns? Something they've been doing for 20 fucking years?
Right. So that was my thing with Bisping, and he's standing across from this fighter. I don't know who that fighter was. I should have looked him up. He's probably an elite fighter. Talking about you got to do your footwork patterns. And Bisping says I put out 4 cones, and he shows what he's doing on the cones. And first off, maybe he's just been out of the fight game so long, but that's not how Bisping moved when he fought. He actually was a tremendous mover. And he's saying I go 1 and I 3, and then someone calls 4, and I do this and that, and you got to do it. And it's the same question I ask of the baseball players. I'm like, how is the same tool that an 8-year-old is using the same tool you're using? Like, you're telling me in the 25 years of playing baseball that same tool works for everybody? So sure, maybe a beginner on day 1 falls over their feet and you want to say, here's how you move. But Jesus Christ, an elite level fighter, come on. It doesn't make any logical sense to me.
So the logic here would be most coaches would agree that live work is superior.
We hope.
We
You can get them there, right? I
I
think you can
think
get them
so.
there.
I think
Most
we
coaches
always do
are,
it. I've done it. We've done it with football coaches. We've done it with basketball coaches, baseball coaches, all of them. So yes,
most coaches believe that the live work is superior, but they're
yes,
also saying that live work plus dead work is better than just live work, and that doesn't make any sense to me. Like I'm
yes.
not like
Yeah,
like
right.
if you've got 5 hours a week of live work, and you say, okay, well, I think 3 hours a week of live work and 2 hours a week of dead work will elicit greater gains. Okay, that's a thing to be made. I don't believe that because that doesn't make sense to me. If we're saying live work superior, why are we taking it off the table and putting in inferior work? Okay, their claim is the inferior work plus the live work will come out with a better product. Now, if you say 5 hours a week of live work and an extra 2 hours of dead work, then I'll agree. Maybe you'll get something out of that. But we're talking hour for hour, minute for minute, rep for rep. The liveness is really where it's at. And I think we can get more coaches here, but they seem to think that the dead work is additive, and that's what we're pushing back on.
Right. I do think what you end up with is because I was just thinking about the other day, the coach has a 2-hour block,
We're
right?
talking.
So
Yeah.
it's no gym in America has a practice that starts at 9 o'clock and ends when it's over. Because I think if that were the case, when the coach starts designing from the top down, not the bottom up, all of a sudden they're like, oh shit, I don't need 2 hours. I don't
Yeah, it's
need
faster than
and
45 minutes.
45 minutes. Last night, my class was 50 minutes, and I was like, because we were on a 3-minute clock with 30 seconds rest, and I'm like, there's nothing else of value that these people can do now. They are done. Now, if it was an hour and a half practice, at the 45-minute mark, I say to myself, shit, what are we going to do for another 45 minutes? Okay, we're going to hit hand pads or something. Or I would have started with 30 minutes, but then the live work suffers. I want the live work to be done fresh and fatigue over the time of the live work. I don't want to enter the live work fatigued.
No, you're surely not going to get the most out of it. So I don't understand why we're doing 30 minutes, so many practices. We're going to run around and do 30 minutes of strength and conditioning. And we're going to do all the stuff and exhaust ourselves. And then we're going to get to wrestling, or we're going to get to.
But that's because your gym, because the gym schedule says this practice lasts X amount of time. And so I think some coaches handcuff themselves, and maybe they would say, yeah, I would love to do live work, but we can't do live work for 2 hours.
And I probably agree. You can't do live work, even if it's light sparring. You can't probably do 2 hours of getting tapped and prodded in the noggin.
It's hard to stay focused.
And how much extra capacity do you need for something that's 3 threes or 3 fives or 5 fives? Isn't the idea to build capacity, the highest level of capacity for that thing? How much extra is building that capacity for that thing? At what point do you have enough?
Well, also, capacity? we also know, like, if I came in and I said, okay, we're going to do 10 5-minute rounds of MMA, go. The first couple rounds they warm up, then they get their good work. They choose their good partners. They get 3 or 4 rounds of good work, and then they coast the rest of the time. And so I'm not saying there's no value in coasting, but let's be serious. At that point, sometimes it's just going through the motions, and I don't know what the value of unfocused going through the motions is. It's still better probably than hitting hand pads.
Well, if you're going with the assumption that every rep we do, we're programming something or updating a representation in the head, in the brain, then we should be trying to avoid coasting or any kind of like lackluster practice.
Right. Perfect practice makes. What's that saying?
Practice makes
perfect. Practice makes perfect.
Perfect practice makes perfect or something. Yeah, I haven't said anything like that ever.
Yeah, something like that. So then, indeed, every movement we make in practice should be as close to the ideal as possible. Right. Now, if we go back to the Tony Jeffries thing, I think if we take all the different take all the different things that coaches and fighters do, and and it can be different for everyone. We have like this hierarchy of effectiveness. I think most people would end up with the same thing. Sparring, tech sparring, light sparring is going to be the superior one. So I think that's the case we're making. Okay, can we find a way to do that sustainably, ethically, and get as much of that into practice as we can? And but that seems to be just like
sacrilege.
So controversial for some reason. Yeah, sacrilege. Because you're taking away their emotional support.
The sacred cows. Yeah.
And to die on the hill, they're all prepared to die on the hill. They're prepared.
Well, your question here, I think I said this with Preet. I don't mean to repeat myself, but on the Preet episode, but it's like when I have a discussion about evolution with someone who's very religious, I'm not just questioning their feelings on evolution. I'm questioning how they spend their time, what their life is shaped like. Like, to them, I'm questioning what they do on Sunday mornings and Tuesday night Bible study and their friends and their mission outreach and their all of it. But I'm not doing that. But when you talk to one of these coaches, you are questioning their form of life. I do an exercise with people sometimes. I call it prisoner's dilemma. It's not the game theory prisoner's dilemma. It's just, if you had 3 15-minute sessions a week to train for your sport, what would those look like? And everyone says some form of sparring.
Not everyone.
No, you're right.
I've asked that question to some folks, and
you're right.
I got answers that I was not prepared for about what they actually do with their 15 minutes, and it just blew my fucking mind.
You can also tell it's cultural and sport-wise. I mean, maybe it's algorithm, but 5 out of every 6 reels that come on, it's someone doing some form of bullshit on the pads or whatever, right? But we don't really see that in grappling. Yes, we see the dead drilling and whatnot, but if 5 out of 6 grappling reels were someone rolling around the floor with a grappling dummy, we'd kind of find that absurd. But
yeah, there's
little difference in that for me than hitting hand pads.
The best female jiu-jitsu player in the world now.
That's peak grift.
That is
Just right. She just released, and I didn't. When I first clicked on it, I was like,
this
"Who
is
is she? Who is she grappling with? What are they? Is something wrong with them?" And I was like, "It's a fucking dummy."
the solo. And then wait, don't forget the guard pulling with nobody there.
So I think we do see it.
Guard pulling
Um,
ghost.
and
She
I,
knows. She knows. She has to know that's a grift.
why? They
Because
pulled her
she's
out
a,
of they took her out of school in 8th grade. She may not know anything but how to submit other girls.
sometimes I get discouraged.
I mean, have you heard those gymnasts speak who get pulled out of school at 6 years, 6th grade or 6 years old or whatever? You don't want them discussing world politics and stuff. So, I have tried to put up more content. And every time I record it, when I watch it, I'm like, this just looks like sparring. Like I could put a long description of what they are supposed to be doing, but it just looks like sparring. And so I don't just want to put up a bunch of sparring footage of beginners. So some assholes like, well, you see, they all suck.
Yeah,
I'm
because
like,
they're
yeah,
beginners.
they,
What?
they've been here for 4 months just doing live work. Give them a chance. But I no matter how good my drill is, once I say go, it looks like sparring
Because it is.
because it is. But it doesn't make for good Instagram reels.
No, doesn't make for crazy. Like look at this.
Which,
Look at this thing
which
like somebody did, and I'm going to teach it
right.
now. Kids out, my guys are going to do it.
Which I think, Scotty, is to your point in jujitsu. Most thing, unless it's someone saying I do this, then this, then this. It's a kata. It's always sparring.
But
Right.
that's
And
a lot of
I
what you
think you need
see
a,
on Instagram. Is the
Yeah,
kata, is the
you do.
all the moves in this dead environment against this willing person, and then it looks wonderful, and you're supposed to go back and drill it 1,000 times, and then you're going to go grapple live
Who's
for
the
the.
guy? Who's the guy that hates us? Robert. What's his?
there's a bunch of them.
No, but there's a high level jujitsu guy who just put out a video on what CLA was, and he said CLA is a theory, and I'm
Oh,
like,
that's
just
the one
shut
I
the
asked
fuck.
you about. You guys didn't
Oh yeah,
remember. I said it's a theory. Is it this? Or are you the part of the problem?
Deagle
Because
or something.
you're a
I
part of the problem. Calling CLA a theory and just about how you have these discussions with your students. Like, could you fucking know what you're talking about before you start talking to other people and then putting it on Instagram so other people can
Yeah,
fucking put fire emojis on it? It's like, fuck. Ignorance. There's so much ignorance. Do better. But it gets the likes and the clicks.
right.
And other
And
people,
he's great. I mean, so he's just it's a didn't we just went through this with William Tackett the other day or last week, who was putting up videos like, hey, he should have pointing at Grippo missing a footlock finish or something. It's like he should have drilled this more. And I'm like, unless he was drilling it against that guy in that situation, what's the difference? Like, how would that have been different? Because experts don't know how to get out of footlocks.
I think I take the tacket wheel as a bit of a win for the eco bros because
Okay.
we've been talking about this redefining what drilling is, and it's morphed from volume of repetitions of rote repetitions and muscle memory to getting a rough idea down and going out and trying it.
Yes, I have seen that. I have seen that shift as well recently. That this is I think Richard Dawkins had this issue for a long time when he would discuss religion with people. And he would talk to a Catholic priest, and the Catholic priest, because he couldn't argue with Dawkins, and he must have known who he was talking to, would almost be willing to remove all the important tenets that made it Catholicism just to not be illogical. So it'd say, well, it's not really that, it's not really this, it's not really this. It's just about loving your neighbor. And Richard would be like, no, I love my neighbor. You might love your neighbor, but it's based on all of that other stuff. And I think the same thing is going to happen here. In the face of challenges, people will say, that's not what we really do. We just do a couple reps to make sure that they know what they're doing, and then everything else is this. But that's going to be a bastardized version of an ecological approach more than anything.
Well, we're not really squabbling over the utility shrimp drills up and down the lines anymore. I don't see that argument much.
No, no. And whoever said you can't do anything, like whoever said you can't show a student something and you can't say, hey, get a couple reps of that on crash mat before you try and do that to, your partner in live training. It's just, what do we think the utility of that is? What do we think it's doing?
It's not
And
doing
that's the
lifting people think it's doing.
that's the filter. Yesterday, I had a student. I have a student who's a young, very young man, not a great athletic background, and I really like him. His jiu-jitsu is just taken off. Striking wise, he's still very gangly. He looks sometimes like when you ever see two basketball players get in a brawl on a basketball court? Scott, you ever see that?
No, sorry,
It's just
I'm not.
it's guys whose arms are too long for their bodies at this point. Like, they just don't know how to control them. And so I was watching last night, having some things, and I just said, hey, I just said, I know, and maybe it's overconstrained, but it's like, I want you to just keep your hands in eye level. I think you say the same thing to beginners. I want your hands here. I don't want this. I just want you to throw everything from here. And he did a couple rounds with a higher level guy, and it took care of the problem. Now, I don't know if that's sustainable, but I'd rather do that than put him on the hand pads and say, let's clean up your 1-2.
It's all going to fall apart the second he gets
it will fall right apart. And then what was funny was, he said, all right, I felt better punching, but I kept getting teeped in the stomach. And I said, well, that's just because you happen to go against a guy with a good teep who decided that the place that was most open was your stomach.
Give me a few minutes, boys. One of my fighters tomorrow night, his opponent's missing weight. I need to deal with this. 2 minutes.
Yeah, go deal with it. Because Rory knows, you know what I'm talking about. But I think it was an ineffective constraint for him. But yeah, I could have taken him out and said, okay, I'm gonna let me see your 1-2 here. Let me make it straighter, make it cleaner, make it. And as soon as he got in front of that same guy again, it would have been the same thing.
Sure, but we've seen that enough times, right, where it's like, hands up. You know?
And we ended up having a conversation last night on Messenger. He said I was having a really hard time with that front kick. And I said, well, I also have a hard time with that front kick. I've been doing this for 100 years. I said, are you having a hard time because you can't see it, or you're having a hard time because you don't know what to do with it? Because I think those are two different interventions, right?
Agreed.
I think that's the idea of afford to constrain to afford, or constrain to what they call potentiate. And I'm just summing it up as constrained to see or constrained to do. And he said, I just can't see it. The guy, it was fast, it was clean, it was the guy, he was with Heist, who has a really good front kick. I said, okay, so
long, you know,
and he's long. He's almost as long as you are, Charles. And so I'm like, okay, well, next time we're together, we'll do some drills where you are seeing front kicks from people who are just not as fast, is not as good. If we have to put a mark on the front kick, like, there are all kinds of ways we can help you see it.
Basically, you're trying to get him to, eventually, you just want to be able to have him pay attention to the things that might give away that this front kick is about to happen.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know what will help him. That's not.
No, we don't know what we'll get to pick up. So maybe it's like, hey, pay a little attention to his knee. Maybe pay a little attention to his hip.
But we can't do that. That's too much. So what we'll just do is give him more exposure to front kicks that aren't as good as the amateur fighter he was training with, right? And so I don't care if it's the hip or the knee or the foot or something that happens up here. He'll figure all that out without ever knowing it, hopefully. I never figured it out. I'm really still not good at it. I just don't see it. My eyes, I would rather get hit with that than get punched. So I pay less attention to that straight line.
And maybe you take away some of the other things that a partner can do. So so we can pay a little bit more attention to being kicked, as opposed to pay attention to being kicked. I might also get punched, and now I just don't know where to look because I'm too new with this to have all this shit happen.
100%. Because he's just gone to head contact. And so if I had just gone to head contact, the only thing I'm paying attention to is his hands, right? It's all I'm paying attention to.
And how much work on the hand pads, how much work on tie pads, how much shadow boxing is going to help Charles ever better see that front kick?
None.
And how much of, offense, defense? So, I know you're going to throw 1-2 front kick, but then later you're not 1-2 front kick. You're going to fake jab and front kick. Like, how much of programming is going to help?
But we can take what you just said and make it live and say, okay, Charles, your partner now only has a 1, a 2, and a front kick. They will sequence them any way they want to. They will use them any way they feel like it. But all you have to do is pay attention to the straight line.
Sure.
And see if that works. And if that doesn't work, shrink it down a little bit. And if it doesn't work,
a front hand and the front kick, or a front hand and that rear kick thing, so that we're constraining what he's going to see so that he can start to maybe better perceive the one or two things that are coming. And to me,
Right.
that's far superior
I
to
agree.
any of the other things we just said and can be done safely and
Yeah.
repeatably and with a bunch of different partners.
And
Do anything else.
and at some point, he may see them really well and start doing something, but he doesn't necessarily know what to do. So we'll show him. I mean, it's only a couple answers to a teeth. So I have no problem showing him and helping him with that. We could put a body pad on him if the fear of getting kicked overwhelms the system, right? Because I don't like if he's going with people who are front kicking him in the liver, and now he's afraid of those.
Gunshot,
Then I
yeah.
could put a body pad on him. So yeah, I think there's so many ways that we can manipulate the alive engagement that I don't see how we even ever get to the dead engagements, or it's not that's a oxymoron, right? The dead work. I just don't see why we would have to. And if the dead work is me just having him do a couple reps of against a front kick so he can feel that. I mean, so he has confidence at least to know something.
Sure. Or bring an elbow in front of it. Like, hey, you can bring
Whatever.
an
I
elbow.
don't want. Yeah, I don't.
There are ways you could also just
Yeah,
not be there. Like,
right. And I think that was the.
how do you dead rep just not being there except to when it's coming, you get out of the way? Like,
So it's funny you say that. The first solution he came up with last night was to keep moving away from Heist's rear leg. And at the end of the round, Heist said, I was able to hit you with what I hit you with because you were moving the same way the whole time. And Charles said, well, I was trying to stay away from that leg. And I said, okay, that's a good solution till it's not. Now we have to have more. So it was really enjoyable back and forth with a young fighter and just thinking about how do we help this young fighter. And I never got to the point where I was like, oh, well, let's just do 1-2 front kick reps over and over and over until he can defend those. Because as soon as it's under pressure or somebody else, it falls apart.
yeah, you add movement, you add other techniques,
Yes.
you add just
Right.
the anxiety now of a live round. It's
Yeah.
just silly after a while.
And let's be real. What is a front kick anyway? Is it a karate front kick? Is it a teep? Is it some weird thing that this person does that other people don't do?
Then a savate, tofu, like what? And then if you get to a point, it becomes if the pads and the shadow boxing and all these other things can help us perfect movements and coordination and stuff, then why not just add more of that?
I think that's one of the
Less decision making, adds less live, less variability. At what point do you just not even do live practice? Is why when you said earlier about the prisoner's dilemma, I asked the coach about that. What would you do with 15 minutes? And his answer was drill. And I know when he says drill, he means dead rep drilling. The same way
strange.
I said to a friend, and I won't put him on blast because I want to talk to him one day about this, but Mike, you spent 8 hours doing this thing with all these athletes, and you actually never did the thing that you even there coaching. Like they never did they maybe 10 minutes of live work in 8 hours. How does anybody going to get better at this?
Right. But now you're getting like, this is the same thing. Like how you can't sell an 8-hour seminar. And so now you are
for 8 hours.
I get that, but you're fucking with people's livelihood. And I get it. I would say, hey, listen, your athletes are going to pay $100 for 8 hours of bullshit, or they could pay $100 of 2 hours of great. Which would you rather have?
I know what the athletes want because I know my own athlete was like, after 8 hours and hardly anybody's sweating. The thing you see the most about so many of these seminars and stuff, these jiu-jitsu seminars, is a bunch of people who haven't even broken a sweat. I don't want to go somewhere for 4, 3, or 6 and collect techniques and then not actually even engage in any real way with the material.
What do you say to someone who says, if I get one thing out of this seminar, it was worth it?
I say that that's great, but there has to be a better way to figure out that one thing.
A more time efficient way than
Certainly
having
more
to
time
sift
efficient, giving
through.
away a
Right.
Saturday and a Sunday or 3 hours to go to a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu seminar or an MMA, and like you
But
didn't actually do any Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or MMA. You were just
you
showing
heard Forrest.
fucking moves,
You heard Forrest say that there is still a huge market in Vegas for some elite level fighter to come in and show what he does.
which is absurd because I can never do what he does because I'm not him. I
You're
mean,
not
like,
him.
I'm not. No one's that person. It's like we talked about the other day with Volkanovski and the other guy, like
Roughy.
Buffy. It's the idea that I'm gonna go to a Lomachenko seminar and I'm gonna move around like Lomachenko only if you just
Lomachenko.
what I say.
Loman.
I thought I
It
said
was somebody else. I'm sure
So,
that guy's somebody too.
so I'm never gonna move around like Lomo. Not even if he shows me how he moves around. I mean, no amount of reps are gonna make me look like that, move like that. So, are there pieces to take from it? The angles and whatever, and can we put those into an alive drill where I am forced to move in certain ways that at
Maybe.
least, yeah, but it's never going to be him. So what's the point? No one's going to
Yeah.
ever look like Duke Craig Jones Jiu-Jitsu. That dude's a savant on the mat from everything you hear about when he's rolling live with people. Like I'm never going to have his jits. So what do I gain from that?
I like the argument when we talk to someone that believes in repetition, that why that number? Like is it because 1,000 sounds cool? Is it 10,000 because you read Gladwell's stupid ass book? Like, what is, or do you start with, it would make more sense to start with no number. And then when you see what you want to see, but that's not enough. So it is like Kobe shot 1,000 shots every morning. Why? If he made 1,000 shots, then can he just do 900? Hasn't he proven what he wanted to? So I think that is a hole in the idea of repetition work that I want to always ask. Like, why, if you think this is so important, then why aren't you doing more of it? And if it's just an add-on, then why aren't you doing less of it? Because I'll grant that's the one thing I'll grant Thornton in the idealized eye method. When he taught it to us, it was, I just want to see them do the thing right, like whatever right means. That could be a couple, that could be, the problem with that is everyone suffers for the students that take longer, because you show me something new, I can do it in 1 or 2 reps, and then I don't want to wait around for some blue belt who can't do it. So what I'm bored. You and I remember every seminar we would go to, we would be like, okay, what do we do now for the next? But we got it.
Because we're both sitting there
We got
just dead repping it. Yeah, we're both
got it.
fairly good at jujitsu, and we are pretty good at jujitsu. So like how much
I
of that
was.
do you need to do? At what point do you have it? And then how is more better against this corpse?
How do you find out? How do you even figure out how many? Like how did Steph Curry come up with 1,000? I don't know if it's Steph Curry, but the Kobe story about X number of reps every day. Like, how did he come up with that? I wonder if there's some kind of success ratio or failure or time or a metric from the game. Like, I just wonder how people come up with these numbers. Like, how did Lloyd come up with, you got to do it 5,000 times?
So much that you had to like mark shit. You have to like mark shit off or something.
I think that was, I think that was part of it. And the people that did more reps were like more, they were bad. Like they were the favored children. So I just wonder, Scotty, you got everything taken care of?
Yeah, I think so.
What do you do? We face that situation all the time, and sometimes we.
So my guy Rico's on weight. I don't have him cut much. It's like a 10 pound. So he's on weight 55. He'll fight at 55. Sorry, fight at 65 probably. And it's fine. Like here's my thing: if his opponent cuts from 200 pounds to 155 and makes it, there's no you fulfill the agreement.
Yeah.
Once they miss, so we've put in a rehydration clause. They can weigh in at 160 and rehydrate to 168. So we'll wait and see. I'll be prepared to go 170. But if he's coming down from 85 or 80 pounds and trying to get a 55, then yeah.
This is pro round.
This is amateur ready to go pro.
So advanced or whatever.
Yeah.
So
We had 2 incidents recently. One worked out for us, one worked out against us. The one that worked out against us, I think it also told our fighter that that wasn't his weight class. Like, he was fighting at 35. He had to deal with, she's like a horse. He had to deal with an opponent that did not make weight, and he didn't want to push too far and lose the fight. And he just got outsized.
Yeah.
Our other guy, I did not like. Rory, myself, and Luke, who were the three MMA coaches. We were all like, don't take this fight. Like, don't, like, this guy is going to be huge in the cage. Our guy's a 125er, and he isn't a big 125er. And his guy missed weight. Like, early in the week, we knew he was going to miss weight, but early in the week, he was going to miss weight by a lot. And so we're like, just call the fight off now. And our guy was like,
sold a bunch of tickets, a bunch of people are coming.
Yeah, he is well loved. He sold a ton of tickets, and he just did not want to do that to the people supporting him. So he gave this guy every opportunity, and the guy came in, but it worked against the other guy because the other guy just could not keep the pace up that he was used to. So our guy just weathered a little bit of a storm and then put him out in the third.
Yeah,
but
I'm a bit of a stickler for weight, and I think this is a guy's ninth amateur fight. So, and I get it. Sometimes they miscalculate or whatever. But if it's bitten off too more than he can chew, then okay. So we want to make it a bit fair.
Yeah. What pisses me off is
my guys are generally undersized because I don't want them cutting a lot.
Yeah.
They all cut different. They're generally undersized, but if the fighters make weight, that is what it is.
Sure.
If he's 30 pounds undersized and they both made the contracted agreement, then that's what we agreed to.
Good for him. Be the biggest guy in the smallest weight class.
What pisses me off is when, like, they know. Anyone that's had more than a couple fights knows, or should know. They should know each time point what they were previously, right? So they should, every fighter, as they go through amateur to pro, should have an Excel table where they know what they are every time interval. So 8 weeks out, 7 weeks out, 6 weeks out, and even the week of. And so when you look at your table and you know that last time you made weight, but this time at the same moment you are 10 pounds heavier, you should be calling the promoter and calling us so my guy can make a decision to stop cutting weight.
Yeah, that's why I'm a little pissed off, because it's in Indiana and they're about, my Rico's on weight. And he's not big, he's not a huge, he's taller, he's not a huge 55er. He's been walking around at 65, 66, which is where I want my amateurs, 10 pounds over. So
no, it's bullshit.
Yeah.
It's not on purpose. It's not how,
and I don't want to be the coaches. Oh well, yeah, it should be fine or whatnot. I mean, they're trying to fucking knock each other out. So
right. Yeah.
And then speaking of that, I took your counsel yesterday. I just want to throw that out because I guess Rory said I'd already made my decision, but just a little, I don't name any names. I got it's more in the boxing world, but there was some kind of event on in Illinois, and the guys hit me up looking for kickboxers. I've got a couple of guys who they're wanting to prepare for fights. They normally fight at 145. They're walking around about 170 because they weren't planning on fighting, and they said, "Oh, that's no bad opportunity. We'll take a kickboxing match." And then there was all sorts of fuckery this week, and at one stage I had two of my guys fighting each other, and anyway, I get text. The guy's obviously desperate to keep the card. I got a text yesterday saying they've got new opponents, and it's a total walkover. They've only got a month or two training. My guy's like, we take this seriously. And then he's saying to me, well, can you maybe a gentleman's agreement that your guys don't go too hard or whatever? I'm like, no, man, this is fucked up. This is fucked up. Plus, it was his guys. It was his own guys. So
no, that was the right call.
That all smelled wrong.
I can't even get you're talking out two sides of my mouth, right? Fighter safety. And then, it happens. He knocks one of my guys, they go out and they hurt this kid. And then what happens?
No, you're an asshole. You end up being like, so because you're a decent human being, that if you start a fight and then beat the shit out of someone, then you're the asshole because you know how to fight. So if you know that your guys could possibly hurt some people because someone else is not looking out for their best interests, then no, that's what we do. We don't allow those things to happen, but it's not enough to just take care of our people. If we know that there are some shenanigans going on elsewhere, I couldn't walk into that with a clear conscience, even if my guys themselves didn't know that this was going to be a cakewalk, because I want them to be prepared because the other person could be lying. You still know that it's a possibility that your dudes are going to go out there and just put the hurt on someone. First of all, what's the point of that for your people? I had some of my kids compete.
feel a bit like this sometimes when you have these prospects fighting journeymen and cans, right, to pad the record a bit. But they're all experienced. It's going to be a one-sided whooping, but okay. But the journeyman or whoever's accepted that fight at the pro level, they know what they're signing up for. They know they're going in as a big dog.
Money, they're paying some bills. You know, we just had a grab. We just went to New Breed with I took 5 kids and like 11 or something adults, but one of my kids just went from like 15 to 16. He's only been training for a short period of time. He's undersized. Come to figure out that not only is the dude he's competing against quite a bit heavier because otherwise he wouldn't have competed, but this kid who's in this 0 to 6 month weight division, beginner division, is basically a juvenile blue belt, but just likely moved up again. So from kids to white belt. So maybe he's only been a white belt from 0 to 6 months, but he has not been training for 0 to 6 months. And I'm thinking to myself, what is the point of you coming out here and beating up a kid who's been training for about 0 to 6 months and just happened to have gone from 15 to 16? Now, I got to accept the fact that I didn't know that was going on. I missed I didn't have all the rules and stuff, but like, how do you leave the mat feeling good about yourself? How does your coach allow you to sandbag? Because what experience are you gaining if you just go out there and just murk someone? You get a gold medal? Maybe there's a belt, there's a sword. Like, how do you feel good about yourself? And as a coach, how do you feel good about allowing your athlete to go smash some other kid who's got 6 months of experience when your kid's likely been training for a good couple of years, just happens to have just become a teenager? Just, that's the absurdity of it all.
Well,
I won't do that on my end.
How does the IBJJF let the greatest flyweight fighter of all time compete in as a purple belt or brown belt just because that's what they are in BJJ? Or how do you let Ed Ruth, one of the greatest wrestlers in NCAA history, put on a blue belt and compete for some guy who's training jiu-jitsu 2 or 3 times a week? Like, jiu-jitsu is terrible when it comes to sandbagging. You can be a black belt in judo and enter a white belt IBJJF, I think.
No, you have to go blue belt. Elite.
Hooray.
Yeah,
right.
Not that that's any better, but at least the one thing I at least understand about the IBJJF, which I have to give them some credit for, is now I get why if you were a kid and you earn 1 belt. So if you're a kid, you get your white belt when you start, and then you earn your gray white belt. No matter how old you are, no matter how long you've been training, the moment a kid earns their first belt, the second they enter the teens or adults, they can no longer compete as a white belt. And now I see why. Because that kid that Cole competed against probably has only been a white belt for maybe 0 to 6 months. But I bet he's been training for 5, 6, or 7 years. So technically he didn't lie, but you're not a normal white belt pulling, jumping arm bars and throwing footlocks and just like that. You're not a white belt. You haven't been training for 6 months. And if you have been, then you've been training like 20 hours a day, eating Cheerios off the mat and being homeschooled. Like, so at least the IBJJF
Cheerios out of a bowl, but they were eating with their hands.
Yeah, and on the mat, I thought. But like, at least the IBJJF takes into account that there'll be a bunch of fuckery moving kids from kids to adults.
Gospel.
Because, we had Gabriel. We had to make him a blue belt because people got tired of getting beat up by a kid on the mats.
Well, there's always going to be an element of fuckery, but unless the real egregious fucking cases of sandbagging are called out and there's a kind of consequence, then the fucking conversation's mute, unless it's getting policed.
I think that the IBJJF should have a Masters 1 for regular ass people and a Masters 1 for all those adult black belts that aged out. Because can you imagine being a guy who started training at 25, now you're 35, you have a black belt, and you're going to go compete as a Masters 1, and the guy across from you has competed from 20 to 30 as an adult, maybe 20 to 35 as an adult, and now decides to be a Masters. Those are not the same things. And it almost stops normal people from competing in Masters 1.
And we have continue to compete also. Like, there was a year Sanjay was in not Sanjay.
Right, exactly. That's my point. Exactly. But we have adult brown belts who don't want black belts. They're 33 years old. They don't want black belts because Masters brown is their peers. Masters black is a combination of killers and hobbyists. Yeah, and it almost puts them out of the sport. We had a brown belt who loved competing, but he was a black belt. It was time to give him a black belt, but he's never competed again.
Yeah, jiu-jitsu needs better skill criteria, whether it's an ELO that's going to take a long, long time to, get traction.
Short arm dinosaur, Rory.
Yes. So you just, you find the ones and or the WNOs or these other
Right.
where you can just match up with
Yeah.
someone. And
Which is what, yeah, I agree.
I think there should be, more people should have those types of tournaments because then there's still people like that who want to compete.
Yeah, I agree. And those guys sell tickets and stuff, so it's good for those organizations.
If we go back to the striking part, it's just a comment that's popped out at me in a few of these discussions recently that the critiquers, us who are talking about, the flowery shit, and the burden of proof's on us. I'd push that back and saying, like, if there was a higher fidelity between what we're seeing in drills here in fights, then I think there'd be a better case. But I think the burden of proof.
Say that again, Scotty. Say that again. Say that
Okay.
again.
So we'll see something online, the perfect combination, the duck under the weave or whatever, the really flow things. If we saw high fidelity, if we saw that happening routinely and frequently in fights, then yes, I think the burden of proof would be on us. I actually put the
Yes.
burden of proof back on the other way around and say, okay, there's a huge, we spoke about this all the time, there's a huge disconnect. Like what we're seeing there, if we're talking about fidelity, does it transfer? We just don't see it. One of the coaches, one of our friends, and the young lady did a great job at the UFC recently, right? She won our fight, big favorite. I did a little scratch in there. She was a 3-time IMMAF world champion.
Yeah.
So she was really great. And they'd been working on cross to the body, right? And she folded her opponent with this, which was great. But it was a cross to the body. It wasn't a four piece with a fancy bob and weave. It was a cross to the body. Okay.
Right. Yes.
That is not a case to be made for drilling
across
Yes.
to the body.
But this is the same discussion. There's what Roy and I was talking about when you were gone with seminars. Nobody wants to go to a seminar where they throw 1-2 leg kick, and the coach is like, I'm gonna clean up. I'm gonna make your basic techniques as good as possible. And nobody even wants to sit in a class like that. So you end up with 1-2 slide out leg kick, cross hook, cross, which I sent you guys on Instagram the other day where this guy did this weird slide out kick thing, and I'm like, what? Like, when I have never in my life seen a person throw a 2-piece and slide out on an angle and then throw a 3-piece. Never in my fucking life.
Was that hook? Was that to do with the hook that moved like 9 feet away and then the leg?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, I'm like, so now we're at the point where even if the ed reps did something coordination wise, you're extending that definition to a ludicrous point. I do this, they do this, I do this. Let's rep this out. Well, what if they don't do that? Run a different program? Are you programming for everything? And how many reps does it take to have all those programs and make those choices? It starts to fall apart.
It starts to fall apart under that type of logic for sure.
That's what I mean. It falls apart under logic. It doesn't. It falls apart. It doesn't ever even happen in the fight because when you throw the 1-2, people move.
Yeah, or they back up or they go. Yeah, they do something else. How many A then B then C then D then E? And like you said the other day, we were talking about I think it was on the WhatsApp. It was just all those drills become in service to those drills. And then the decision making is completely removed.
Yeah.
So then what level of skill is someone attaining if skillful movement has a piece of decision making in it? There's no skillful move. There's no skill developing. It's just kata, ippon, shadow boxing. No one's learning actually how to do the thing unconstrained, so to say.
I'm starting to get more comfortable saying decision making is skill.
Yes. I agree. It's inseparable, right? I think that we agree that perception and action is talking about decision making.
Perception and action is decision. Yeah. Decision making is perception and action. And it's continuous.
Right. And so making bad decisions, the person would look less skilled than someone making good decisions.
And even I agree. Even if you don't buy into that, and it's more of the information processing, where it's stimulus processing output, and we're saying that's a discrete event. It's so minutely discrete that it's effectively continuous.
Yes.
to make the online
So
adjustments,
so then the last thing we'd want to remove is decision making,
which is the liveness.
And sparring,
which
which is what everybody is, which is
live
what
interaction.
And
everybody
you
So
does.
it came full circle.
and your point about seminars, right? And they need to teach flowery things. I think most people, like, I'm not going to burst the seminar bubble too much. It's good for the community. It's good to
Sure.
get together, get your photo taken in a new Facebook profile picture and blah blah blah, and meet and greet and all that good stuff. But I think we said Rory and I agree, or we all agreed that the average number of strikes thrown in an exchange is probably 1.5,
Yeah,
just
I think
under
it's
2.
yeah, I think it's 1.5 because that gets you 0 to 3. I guess 0 is not an exchange, so it gets you 1 to 3.
So
So
that's where
somewhere like it's
so
under 2,
let's
let's
practice
say.
that. Let's practice that.
Yeah, but that's boring as shit.
It is boring.
It's funny. The best dead seminar I ever went to was and I did a few of them, was training with Rob Kamen. And it was very simple. It was very simple. Now, again, over the course of 4 hours and 2 days and stuff, he was forced to put in a little bit of flowery stuff. This is what I do. This is what I did when I fought so and so. And I think people are there for that and it's fun. Like, sure, I'd love to see the combo that you finished Hoost with or whatever. But the majority of it was very simple. But you also noticed that Rob Kamen, while he was alive, was not doing seminars every week all over the world like some of these other guys are.
This was we're
Because
kicking each other in the leg for 4 fucking hours.
because most of the seminar was kicking each other in the leg.
And he was all gas, no brakes, huh?
Now we did a lot of almost live work. He put on the techno music, German techno music, and he was dancing around the room, and it was a lot of fun. And I would go to a Rob Kamen seminar today. Even right, Rory dancing. I would go to Rob Kamen seminar today. Well, he's dead, so I don't think it'd be a fun seminar.
I'd go to that seminar.
I might still go to that seminar. I would go to one today because it was fun. So I get what you're saying, Scotty. There are some fighters, if they did a seminar locally, I would just like to be there just to spend some time with them. Maybe I pick up a trick or something that I never thought of. Maybe I see, but it
You
wouldn't
also
be
be looking at those seminars now, especially now, with a much different lens. So earlier when Scotty was away, you'd said something about if you go to a seminar, someone says, I picked up one thing,
right.
And that's great. I don't know how many white belts, beginners at any of these seminars are picking up those one thing. So yeah, I go to a seminar, I look at those differently now, but then again, I also look at it through a lens of someone who's been doing martial arts for 30 years. So I have a lot of the movements already, so I can add some things into my game, but I don't think that most people going to those seminars are necessarily adding things to their game, especially if there's not any live work being done to put those things into their game.
Yeah, I mean, it's not what we'd consider to be learning, but I mean, take Sanshai, right? I think I'm such a Sanshai fanboy. He's skill personified to me. But when I watch his seminars are packed, seems to be two things going on there. They're all shadow fighting, and the rest of the time they're watching Sanshai. I'd love to watch Sanshai, even shadow boxing. I get such a hard on for him. But
I went to a seminar with Ninja and Shogun once, and neither one of them spoke English. And when you asked a question, you'd ask Shogun would be walking around, and you'd try and ask him a question, and his answer would be, "Look, Ninja, look, Ninja," basically saying, "Look at Ninja do it," and that's the best he could do because he didn't speak any English. But it was fun because it's fucking. I don't think people even remember Ninja and Shogun, but they were awesome and it was fun. But I would have much rather sparred with them at that point in my life than. That would have been even more fun. I do like that. Is it Shanshai that spars some people in his seminars?
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, I would go just not at this age, but I would go just for the opportunity just to move around with him. That'd be fun.
I went to a Bang Ludwig seminar. We got off the bad start. I wasn't allowed to join because I didn't have a white t-shirt on. So to buy a white t-shirt and get on a mask.
Like a white Bang t-shirt or just you needed like a white.
You had to be white. Everyone had to be in white. And then I did some we built some really, really nice 15-piece combos.
Wow. Have you ever seen in your life?
I got good at this.
Have you ever seen a 15-piece combo thrown in your life? Ever? I have never.
Yeah, the Ludwig seminar.
In a fight.
I have seen in boxing, when it's at the end, when
Someone's dying.
when one fighter is circling the drain,
Sure.
and the ref is watching very closely, and it's just
And
David
I'll
Benavidez
tell you what the finishing combination is. It's left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right.
mostly, and then maybe a liver shot. Yeah, I mean that's
Yeah, I
that's
take
the
that back.
only
Sometimes
time
it's right, left, right, left, right, left.
with maybe a liver shot in there. Yeah, it's one guy shelled up, and the other guy picking him apart. At boxing, their average combo maybe 2, 2.5, because of double jab sometimes. But yeah, you never see.
I'm going to do a little bit scratching in that. There's probably some data there.
Yeah, I think that'd be cool. I think that'd be interesting to look at.
Get
I think
caught
that'd
on.
be interesting.
Right,
Claude
boys, I
knows.
need to get going here. Don't you
Oh,
have?
that-
Next week.
Well, I'm just saying I need to go, but I can leave this running if you want to keep.
No,
yapping.
I'm gonna go to work. Rory and I bitched and moaned a little bit while you were gone, so we're good.
And I'll see you next Friday.